This episode of After Dark is brought to you with limited commercial interruption by Netflix. For every 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV.
Gamebreaker TV.
What is up, everybody? Welcome. It is January 29th, 2013, and this is After Dark, the show where you guys call in and we field your questions live right here every Tuesday night from Twitter and Skype. Joining me tonight, I don't know why that's such a go-to thing, and I say this every week, but like he does every week, Mr. Josh Allen. Mr. Allen, you look a little frozen there. Oh, nope, you're moving. Okay, good. I was afraid Medusa stared you in the eyes and you were petrified and couldn't move. Oh gosh. And we also have Mr. Darnell joining us. The one, the only. Darnell, are you okay?
I'm also pretending to be frozen as well.
Oh. Well then, should I just do the whole show like this? I don't know.
By the way, you couldn't get a higher res screenshot. What the hell? It needs more JP. Come on. Look at that. That's terrible. That doesn't even look like me. Who is that, anyways?
I don't know, man.
It's the shoulders.
Whoever it is has got to work on their production value, because that's clearly SD quality right there. Just saying.
Terrible. That's tongues are wrong colors. Let's see, wrong shoulders. Undershirts incorrect. Damn, imposter spotted.
You're your own imposter, I guess.
I don't think you're the real Darnell.
Well, we usually start tonight's topic off with kind of the big news of the week, but I figure this time we'll just jump right into a Twitter question. Some really awesome person wanted to know, what do you guys think about the pay-per-view option that's making its way to YouTube? Oh my God, I heart you, GB After Dark. Hi, Mom.
Damn. I mean, I guess the guy that really asked that question ain't gonna get any credit for that. You know, I guess it's alright.
I guess the guy that asked that question got his facts mixed up, because YouTube has had pay-per-view for a while. It's a subscription option being added to YouTube in the near future.
Wait, what was that?
Damn.
I swear I read this. Wait, because I linked this story earlier. Let's take a look at this. YouTube pay-per-view.
Well, they've had renting for a while and making
January 29, 2013. I didn't just steal a headline and make it wrong.
Look at that headline. It says expanding pay-per-view options with paid subscriptions. They already have pay-per-view. They're expanding it.
Let's just let's just look there.
No. My semantics are better than your semantics. Shut up.
So I think this hi, double me. When did that happen?
Just gonna cut me right out of the show, are you? Is that what that is?
That's what you get. Next time you'll think twice. I think this is this is pretty big, because we heard a lot about ads and subscription models when we first started putting ads all over the place at the beginning of our videos and started doing daily hits. A lot of people were just like, we wish we could just pay a subscription and be done with ads. I mean, there's definitely there's serious YouTube money out there, especially if you're some of the higher ranked channels. You're easily raking in money. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. I can't go into numbers, but it's stupid. So what do you think this will do to the community? Will this help? Is this going to end up segregating the community to the people that get offered these pay-per channels, and then kind of kick down the people who don't feel like they get the pay-per channels? Or what could this do? Because we are sitting in a very evolutionary age, and YouTube is a part of that.
I guess go ahead.
It's pay for subscription, right? So no advertisements. right?
Yeah, I guess it
No.
depends on how they're going to implement it, because if it's you have to pay to even see this channel, then that's one thing, and I feel like a lot of people on the internet are not too keen on that sort of idea.
Well, here's what the article says. It says YouTube has recently reached out to 20 channels asking if they would be interested in joining a first batch of paid options, which is set to debut in April. Subscription will be under $5 and may include a channel, a channel's whole library or smaller subsections, such as older offerings or live events. So they are talking about kind of converting whole channels or whole categories to a $5 subscription.
That makes me a lot less excited for this, honestly, because I feel like a lot of the current YouTube market, there's people that certainly can pull it off, and maybe some of the larger like existing networks, maybe it'll entice some of the like existing TV networks to say, okay, well, we'll put this on YouTube now because we can charge people money for it up front. But I feel like a lot of the big current channels, like I don't know, like Total Biscuit, Mike B's channel, you know, a lot of these existing channels that are doing well already are going to kind of shy away from the idea of we're going to limit the stuff you have access to, because that's kind of against the whole spirit of the thing. Is it's kind of the idea is I'm putting this content out there. I want as many people to see it as possible because I want people to see my stuff. I don't want people to pay me to see my stuff. I just want people to see my stuff. Personally, I was hoping it was going to be something more along the lines of you can pay to not see ads on this channel, kind of like what Twitch TV does. That, I think, would fit into the current, like the current content contributor base of YouTube a little bit better than just straight up like, here's a channel, I've been watching these videos, but I see an ad at the beginning of every one of them, and I'm getting tired of clicking the skip ad button when it comes up, and some of the ads you can't even skip, so I will pay this $5 so that I don't have to see ads on this channel. That would be fantastic. The idea of, and by the way, if you give me $5, you can actually see a WTF is, or you can actually see an Indie for Breakfast or something like that. No, those guys aren't going to do that. That's ridiculous. That's dumb.
Yeah, especially think about it. Putting your videos out on YouTube, just like Lord said, so that people can see them, right? So because people that watch, you know, Just a Tip probably watch, you know, Indie for Breakfast, and then probably watch like something on Rooster Teeth, right? So no one's gonna pay $15 for 3 channels with the content if they put it behind a paywall. So the paywall thing's out, except for maybe the top, you know, 2% or 0.2% of YouTube.
Well, and this is
people in each genre or something, but it's not gonna work as a paywall, but it'll work for like Twitch, where it's like no advertisements, just like Lo said.
And they haven't come out.
They
haven't come out and announced their structure yet. I don't believe. There's in this article. There's also speculation of what you guys are talking about of creating, you know, an ad-free channel that people won't run into ads if they step up and subscribe. But I mean, since they've only reached out to, they say, out to more than 20 channels, we can obviously take into effect, I think, Toby Turner is a really good example. I think he's 35, 35th most subscribed on YouTube.
Damn, he look great for 35 years old. Really?
He's 35 most subscribed on YouTube, and I believe he has over, I just did the numbers on this. I want to say
hold on, no. He's number 35 and like number 15. Like he's got 2 in the top 50. Oh,
that's right. Yeah, because it's Toby Turner too. So here the top one, he's got
does put his ugly ass face on the same damn Happy Wheels video every damn day.
He's got 3 million subscribers. Now that's obviously going to turn people away. We talked about that for us as well, about how if we were to change to a subscription model, that would negatively affect the people who are coming in and watching our content. But for those who do get deterred away, is it going to potentially make up in personal monetization? Because there are definitely people out there that are running YouTube channels and thinking about the money that can be earned, and it might be worth the overall viewer hit to their content to outright charge $5 for it. But I guess they might.
If you're a really big channel, you might be able to sell access to some content, like behind the scenes content and stuff like that, or extended cuts and things like that. Because every once in a while you'll see somebody come out with like, oh, here's this awesome music video that we made, and then here's a 10-minute behind the scenes video that we took just while we were also making this other video because we wanted to be able to monetize this twice, more or less, is why they do that. I could see people trying to sell, like the really big channels, trying to sell access to that sort of stuff, because that's content that it's just kind of extra. It's just there. It doesn't really, it's not something that they're putting extra effort in actually making. But I think the big channels really do understand, like people like Toby Turner really do understand that the reason they have so many subscribers and thus sit on their giant mountains of YouTube money is because their content is accessible to everyone. You will not have that, like, a 100% paywall. It might work if, like, HBO decides to put Game of Thrones on YouTube or something like that.
That's true.
But it won't work for Toby Turner.
Series like that, yeah.
Do you think that, and final question, because we have a huge show ahead of us, do you think that this is their way of trying to turn YouTube into something comparable to, say, Hulu Plus?
Absolutely. I think that's probably the main focus here, is, like I said, trying to...
Though.
What's that?
But on a micro level, though, not site. It's not like site-wide. YouTube would do it. Like Hulu, if it was like Hulu model, it would be like, oh, you pay YouTube X amount of dollars and no ads anywhere, which would be completely unfair to anybody making videos. But I mean, yeah, the other way, this way, it just seems crazy.
Could this be a step towards could this be a step towards a la carte TV? Of being able to say, you know what, I just want this channel and this channel and this channel. Could this ever go successful enough to supply that to people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because you look at something like Hulu Plus or anything like that. Really, Hulu Plus is what, like $15 a month, something like that, if I remember correctly. I don't actually remember off the top of my head. Yeah, I'm not subscribed to it either. I only have my Netflix subscription, but. The reason,
and you can get a free one right at netflix.com/GameBreakerTV.
The reason I have a Netflix subscription is because I have access to a whole bunch of stuff that I'm interested in. If I only wanted to watch one series, I wouldn't. No, I'd be like, no, that doesn't seem worth it to me. I won't subscribe just to watch one TV show. I watch a whole bunch of different stuff. So in something like this, if like I said, HBO says, you know what? Game of Thrones, we'll just go ahead and put that on YouTube. We'll give it its own channel. We'll put it behind a paywall. I'm sure they could work something out with YouTube to automatically make all that work. And then we say, hey, there we go. Now there's a Game of Thrones YouTube channel. It has every single episode. They go up like the next day after they air or something like that. And now you can just watch Game of Thrones on YouTube all the time. I think people pay $5 for that. I'd pay $5 for that. I don't even watch Game of Thrones. I'd pay it anyway.
All right. Well, overall, I think it's definitely it's something that's impressive and I think deserves a little bit of attention. That's why I wanted to shed some light and talk for a little bit about it. But we have a huge show ahead of us. All of you guys are obviously calling in to make the show for us. So let's throw the voice out to the callers right now. Caller on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Hey, Rick from Texas here.
Hey, Rick.
Hello.
And I was just wondering, since the story you guys covered about the senator in California who said that video gamers shouldn't be in the video game discussion about the violence. I mean, how long do you think until older people and politicians just stop using video games as a scapegoat for violence and all the problems of the world?
Never.
Until the next thing comes along, basically. It used to be jazz music was the worst, right? Used to be dancing was the worst. Can't go dancing. That's all these kids these days are going, like, we're talking like the 50s and stuff. But like, these kids are going out dancing. Yeah, I can't believe that they would go out dancing. Dancing is ruining society. And then it turned into movies and television. And then for whatever reason, people got used to seeing people die nonstop on movies and television. So they're like, oh, whatever, that's actually fine. Now it's video games, and it has been video games for a while. And it's just going to take until some other new thing comes along that maybe next it'll be dubstep. Maybe they just haven't heard about dubstep yet, and they're gonna be like, "What is this? What is all these wubs? These wubs drive kids to murder." I don't know.
I mean, I think there's, and you're making it comical, but like there's more of a correlation to video game violence than there is something like dubstep. But you're right. Until the next thing comes along, or even in general, people are always going to point the other finger. Let's bring this back to game. Perfect example, MOBAs, League of Legends, Dota. we get questions all the time about people asking why the community stinks so much, and it's partially because no one wants to step up and take responsibility for themselves and say that it was their fault. They'll always point and say it's the other person's fault. It's kind of what's going on here with video games, and it's always been. It's always been around, as Josh said. It's not just video games, and it won't stop there either. So unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's here to stay.
Well, and one other thing.
Until we get something like the ESA that is not the ESA that can actually do some lobbying, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it kind of is. It's like, do we want to get these dudes off our back? Oh yeah, oh, video games is killing real people. Oh, okay, yeah, you go ahead and keep doing that. Have fun with that, right? Do we want to get them off our back, or do we want to have somebody like kind of like the RIAA and the MPAA up there making all the rules for us and everything? And then all of a sudden we're gonna have all kinds of crazy regulations and all that stuff, making things difficult for independent video game creators and all that. I mean, the problem is that no matter which way we go, and it's gonna go one way or another, it's not good for us, for the majority of us. It's just bad. It's the end of days. It's all over. I'm out. That's why I'm frozen right now. Damn Video Game Association of America. Because you know it's going to be America that messes this stuff up.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I don't think we'll ever see an end to it. But let's open up the lines again and take another question. But not only is it another question, it's Eduardo's Corner. Eduardo, how are you?
Hello, guys.
How are
Fine.
you?
How are you?
I'm
Can
doing
you
fine.
hear
Not, yeah, we can hear you. Sorry, I was switching real quick. How's it going, man?
Yeah.
Good to have you back.
Well, thank you. I'm
Hey,
great.
wait,
I'm
I can't hear anything you say.
doing
Hey, can I get a
wonderful.
mic? Can you give me one of those?
Oh, like.
Come on, man. Come on. Oh, damn,
Like
I'm
that?
talking about, yeah. That was good. That was good.
He actually did it. I'm
He did.
surprised.
Legit, authentic,
The secret for doing that
authentic
is,
from straight
is
Mexico.
that it's a cry of pain. The mariachi cries because he's in pain for love. That's what you need to feel when you want to shout like that.
I love Eduardo, man. This is a part of the show every time. Man.
All right, Eduardo. So what you got for us this week?
Okay, my question for this week is, how do you feel about the way BioWare will implement same-gender relationships in SWTOR in the next expansion? Well, you know that they are going to add a new planet, Makev, where you will be able to do all the new quests, and that's the only place where you can be gay. But it feels like segregation to me. It's very sad. It reminds me of a scene from Brokeback Mountain, the movie, where Jack goes to Mexico to get a male prostitute. And I feel
Yeah,
like
you all went down
Makev
there
is
for one
going
of
to
them?
be this Tijuana that is a very shady place where it's the only place in the world where you can get, a partner to play and do stuff.
Well, I want to make some really awesome witty reference about, the American Army and gay rights, but I can't pull it together fast enough.
What's that have to do with gay-ass stormtroopers?
Because they got to fight for their rights like we've fought for years for equality in America's Army and all that mess.
He's
of
talking
things.
about Planet Gay Mike B.
Right, but Planet Gay Mike B the whole idea of it is that Planet Gay Mike B is segregated from the rest of all of the really cool planets.
I don't care. Call it the
And-
Love Boat.
What is
All right.
is the gay planet not cool enough for you, Mike? Is that
No,
this
no,
problem?
I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's
Sounds like
not.
this is what the party's gonna be.
Yeah.
I'm trying to reiterate the issue here that people have is the fact that they're solely sticking homosexual. I don't know if it's if that's the only place that they're representing homosexuality, or if you choose to be a homosexual character, you can never leave that planet.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Excuse me, sir. Do you have your "I'm a homosexual" checkbox check? You might want to uncheck that before going through customs. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Kiss this man. Kiss this man.
No,
You have to
you may
kiss this
pass.
man before you can leave.
Oh, it's
Ah,
it's
you
going
kissed
to
him.
be a
You're gay. You're
place
stuck
where
here.
there will be some NPCs available, and you can have like a very shallow, casual relationship with them. That's why it reminded me of prostitution and gay cowboys.
Oh,
So
wait.
you
So it's not even like a good gay relationship. It's like they just half-assed it, and now it just seems like Mike B Planet is Tijuana. The planet.
Yeah,
Mike
that's
B
what I'm
equals
saying.
Tijuana. You heard it here.
I think honestly, like if we're being realistic for a second instead of making hilarious jokes, because the topic is kind of funny when you think about it. I think realistically, it's just that they're adding one planet in the expansion, and that's where they're putting all of their new content. So that's where this ended up too. Is they're just like, well, we'll just. And someone at BioWare clearly did not think this whole thing through, and maybe should have gone, well, you know, maybe we should send this quest chain around somewhere else instead. But maybe they will. Maybe the quest chain will take you off of the planet at some point.
Wait,
But
is this a gay quest chain?
maybe, but still, no. I think it's just a matter of they've got like 5 developers left because EA keeps firing all of them, and so they just said, okay, well, let's just try and fold a little gay into the new planet that we're putting out, and that.
Okay, just sprinkle some on it.
Just sprinkle some gay on top of it.
Sprinkle a little bit of gay.
We need to get some pink pumps in here immediately, please.
So,
Thank you.
so you
very
think
much.
it's more an issue of people are blowing it out of proportion because they're not considering that. Is that kind of where you're coming from, Josh?
Well, I think honestly, it's still I'm still putting that on BioWare because it's something that they should have thought of. Like realistically, they should have been. You know what? This just putting everything just on this planet kind of seems like we're segregating people a little bit. That's kind of like, I mean, if. To
Wouldn't
use
it be better-
another example, just to put it in perspective of how terrible this is, what if what if in another MMORPG that maybe doesn't have a black skin tone for a character, a dark colored skin tone for a human character, they finally added that in a new expansion, like say World of Warcraft didn't have a dark skin tone for human characters. They finally added it in Mists of Pandaria, but only if your character starts on Pandaria because that happens to be where the new characters were starting or something. No, that'd be retarded. Then all of a sudden it'd be like, why is Pandaria the only place where we actually have black people? That would be stupid, right? That would be dumb. That would be retarded and racist. So BioWare really needs to be paying attention to what they're doing over here. And that's kind
BioWare
of
has always been good at being gay, you know, with Dragon Age and Mass Effect. They are able to make very interesting characters and stories about same gender relationships. And I feel
But that's
like
because they've
not-
crafted it from the start, whereas now they're just trying to introduce it to an already made system.
Yeah, I think when topics like this get breached in games, and it's definitely good that they're being breached in games more and more often nowadays. That's the kind of thing that needs to happen for this sort of thing to become more acceptable in the general social population, right? That needs to be something that people realize it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of everywhere already anyway, right? I think in order for that sort of thing to be happening, though, it needs to not be a giant production when it happens. Like, Guild Wars 2, one of the starting quests for a Sylvan character. Did I remember the name of the race? The plant people. I can never remember the actual name of the race. Sylvari. Yeah, there we go. One of the early quests in there, you save a dude and another dude, and they're together. They are an item. They are partners. But that's not like the main focus of the story at all. It's not like, hey, go save the gay people. No, it's just there's this guy and there's another guy and they're just kind of there, and they mention it once or twice, and that's it. It's just kind of, here's a couple gay characters. We're not throwing it in anybody's face, but it's there and it's part of the plot line still. So I think that's the sort of approach that needs to be taken with stuff like this. When SWTOR comes out and says, hey guys, we're adding the gay planet in the next expansion, that's kind of, they're just asking for it at that point. That's just, no.
All
No,
they had to do was add like, well, I don't know. Actually, it doesn't make any sense. I was about to say, I mean, and don't quote me on it. I was about to say, all you gotta do is add some just gay NPCs, some gay quests to like some other planet. Just plop one down there, make them easily recognizable. That shouldn't be too hard. Just put them in some roller skates or something.
Rainbow.
There you go.
Over their head.
He's the stormtrooper with the pink armor.
See, just place one or two of them on every other planet. All of a sudden, no problem.
It's true. All right, well, we got to move on. We got a lot of callers left here, and I think we've already burned through about a third of our time. So, caller, you're in line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Hey, it's Adrian from Canada. What's up, guys?
Yo. How's it going?
So yeah, my question is, should parents be more involved concerning the violent video games their kids play, and if so, to what extent? Also, a question for Darnell, can we look forward to some Dead Space 3 gameplay?
Darnell. Dead Space 3, you up for it? You ready to get scared? Or are you too scared?
I mean, I would say, yeah, if EA wasn't being a big-ass douchebag about it.
That's true. They don't like you posting anything.
So another one, yeah. So pretty much it's like, probably not.
Would be great. Would love to make this content. EA won't let you.
Mm-hmm.
So all right. The first question: video game violence and how much their parents should play a role in it. I do think that it comes into play, but I think that the thing about video game violence is it doesn't affect our youth the way that it gets painted, and I personally feel like that's because, as you said, it's up to the parent to ensure what's going into their children's mind. I wasn't allowed to watch PG-13 movies until I was 13. I was the cool kid at my 13th birthday party. I know I'm only 12, so this makes no sense, but I was the cool kid at my 13th birthday party being like, which movie you want to watch? The Mummy or Twister? And like kind of getting made fun of at the same time. But I respect my parents for that.
No,
because
you get made fun of? Never happens.
Never happens at all. But the thing is I respect my parents' decision to restrict what they were exposing me to, because it can get insane. You can lose yourself if you openly let a child immerse themselves in the wrong worlds, violent video games being one of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of two sides to this. On one hand, people tend to, like you said, they tend to overstate a little bit the actual importance of, or the actual effect that these sort of things have. Which really, to me, it means it comes down to parents need to understand their children a little bit better and know, can my kid play Counter-Strike or something like that? Like, that was the one when I was still like 14 or 15, and my parents were very, very terrified of me playing Counter-Strike because it happened to be around the same time that a whole bunch of school shootings happened, so in retrospect, it kind of made sense. But like, I was playing Counter-Strike, and my parents were like, I don't like you playing those games because it uses real guns and it's too realistic and stuff. But that's the kind of thing that parents need to be doing more, is looking at stuff like this and saying, okay, I understand my child, I know how my child is, and not that I'm the type of person who would ever, actually do anything. I'm afraid to even look at guns in real life. Like, I'm not going to touch one. I'm like, it's terrifying. But basically, to try and tie that back together, because I kind of went all over the place for a second, it really is something that parents need to understand their children more. They need to know, is this the type of thing that my kid can handle? Is this the type of thing that my kid cannot? And especially, they need to be more aware of things like, if the game says MA on the front of it, it's not for kids. It's not for them. Stop buying it for them.
A friend of mine posted on Facebook literally just a couple hours ago about how appalled she was at GameStop when her parents were coming in and buying their 6-year-old Hitman.
Yeah, it's retarded.
What happens when you're in that kind of situation? Or what about the idea of I saw someone in chat talking about this, YouTube. YouTube is such a younger demographic. I believe they're called millennials, and it's up to the content creator to censor themselves or to go back and re-edit and censor themselves. And kids are all over on YouTube. So is it out of control? Do parents just not let their children surf YouTube? Because then they'd really be in trouble.
It's definitely hard, and I can certainly see like the question with YouTube, like letting kids look up videos on you, because there's like videos of the whole Faces of Death series or whatever will pop up on YouTube from time to time, and some kid will be like, "Oh, that's awesome," because that's actually terrifying. I've never understood why anyone would want to watch that sort of thing unless they were actually just psychotic. But it's definitely tough. There does need to be a little bit better policing and reporting of stuff like that, I think, on YouTube, and in terms of having a feature to promote or report something and then YouTube policing it themselves, because otherwise people just abuse it like crazy. They'll be like, "Oh, just the tip, Laura didn't like the game that I played, so I'm going to report it for mature audiences because it's obviously something that I don't want to see anymore," and then the automatic flags trip off or something. But I think it really just has come down to parenting is hard, right? If you're expecting it to be easy, then maybe don't have kids. Why do you think I don't have kids? I don't have time for that.
Yeah, the best answer people say is, "Oh, all you have to do is just raise your kids." It's like, what the hell does that even mean? Just raise your kids. What the hell do you think I'm doing? I'm raising my damn kids.
Darnell, all you got to do is just raise your kid, okay?
Just raise your kids.
I know you got like 15
right,
out there, but you just got to raise them, all right? And if they don't grow up right, it's your fault.
See, and it's all my fault. All I'm doing is my damn job, trying to raise a kid. All of a sudden, come on, it's like you guys actually. I'm just sitting here just listening because I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Shit, I'm just like, yeah. You want to watch some porno, kid? There you go. Sometime.
He's seen boobies before.
Exactly. He's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, more lunch." All right.
All right, let's move on before this spirals out of control. Caller on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Hi, my name is Dan Costelli. I'm from Bellingham, Washington. And my question is for Darnell. After the amazing, successful first year of SWTOR, what would you say to the Star Wars Sith Assassin guy back from like last Christmas now? What would you say to him?
Damn. I kind of feel bad for his dumb ass. Because that's permanent now. Like the problem is like, you know, when that first came out, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah." And everyone was going back and forth. Right? Now it's everybody all of a sudden agrees this game is just terrible. Damn. So forever, this guy is gonna be like just the biggest dumbass to ever be on a video. Talk about dope lightsabers and holographic women's and such. Dumb. That's all.
Fair enough. All right, while we wait for another caller to get on the line, let's throw it out to a Twitter question. Alan O'Reilly wants to know, regarding the current legendary chain in WoW, do you feel that in its current state, it does not feel legendary? Josh, I know you've got a lot of beef with legendary systems, and you did appreciate this system because it took responsibility away from the raids. But I got to kind of agree here, unless they've got something planned for future patches, which they've been slowly doing, and I've been worried about the fact, like, do these legendaries just stack up? It seems like, and they don't now. We will lose our legendary gem in our weapon to get a legendary helm meta, but unless there's really something kind of really cool and exciting at the end, I don't really feel like this is a legendary to be excited about. It just kind of feels like everybody's expected to do it, and it's no longer this really legendary item because you're walking around Raid Finder currently or other raids and seeing everybody with your weapon attached, and it's just a matter of, do you have the gem or don't you? It doesn't feel individual.
I think the big thing here is that like the quest chain itself, I don't really have a problem with. You have to do a whole bunch of stuff, and it's actually relatively similar to what you would have to do for legendary before. I think it's the fact that you get a gem at the end of it. You get a shot touch gem in tier 14, and tier 15 you get, like you said, the meta gem. So I feel like the fact that the rewards just aren't anything interesting is why people right now are looking at this legendary chain and going, this is dumb. This is why this doesn't feel legendary at all. However, we are only looking at the second tier of content in Mists of Pandaria. There's going to be at least 3, and there's actually a possibility we might see 4, just depending on what the developers end up deciding to do.
Aren't there?
But
There's
there's
still
going to be at least 1 more.
3 more achievements in line for Rathion's quest chain, isn't there?
Yeah,
One
but
is
sometimes those are
5.2.
part of the chain early on as well. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out. It might be like the very end of it or something. I don't know. It's possible that we'll see a fourth achievement, or excuse me, a fourth step in the chain. And if at the end of that we get an actual weapon, like an actual really solid, best in slot, better than everything else out there, orange weapon for finishing the entire chain, that will make the quest feel legendary. In fact, that will make it feel like, in my opinion, that'll make it feel more legendary than than every other chain, because it's something you worked on and you built up to over the course of the entire expansion. You put a ton of time and effort into getting this thing, and now you've finally gotten your awesome reward at the end of it. That'll feel awesome when that happens. But it's got to be a reward that people are actually really excited about, not a stupid freaking gem with 500 intellect on it.
And I personally, I think it's got to have its own unique model, something that makes the long road worth it. But I think the biggest demoralizing thing about the legendaries that you're getting right now is they just cosmetically look like everything else, whether you're doing the legendary chain or not.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, a lot of people, like I see people in the chat saying this too. It's a legendary, but everyone has it. So how is that legendary? I don't think legendary means no one has access to it. I think legendary just means you put a lot of work into getting this, and I don't have a problem with everyone having it. In fact, if you remember the whole big old arguments I was making before, it's better than not having them at all, which is better than having one that just one guy in your raid gets. So, yeah.
All right, let's throw it out to another caller. Caller in line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question.
Hey, it's Clifford from Texas. I was just wondering about a way to curb the exploit or gaming the LFR role queues.
Wait,
like sorry. Like someone would queue up as a healer, get into LFR, but not heal at all. I was just wondering if anybody else has gotten that experience, or if it's actually even widespread. I know it's just a couple of cases that I experienced, but I don't do LFR that often. So I was just wondering if it's something big that's going around.
I have had it happen occasionally when I've jumped in LFR. It's usually by about the second boss, and there's only 3 in most of the raids except for Terrace. So usually by the second boss, that's when I see a bunch of people get kicked, or a person being like, he's not healing, get him out. So I do see it. It's present in my battle group or whatever, however LFR system works. Josh, are you seeing it at all? Are you actively
it happens,
involved in
yeah,
LFR?
for sure. My general approach with LFR when I'm running it is, which I haven't been running it too much lately because I haven't had a reason to, but I'm about to get another 90, so I'll be running it again. My general approach with LFR has just kind of been, if we're killing bosses, I don't care what anybody's doing. Like, doesn't bother me. Like, a lot of people will look at the meters and see, oh, this guy's not healing, kick him. But I'm like, we killed 2 of 3 bosses already with that guy in here. Why do we care that he's not healing? We're obviously capable of killing this stuff. Let's just continue on and get everything done instead of sitting around waiting for somebody else to join the queue. That being said, when we do start having problems and like people start dying, the first thing I do is I go, like, if the tank up and died, first thing I do, well, first I'll check their death log to make sure it wasn't something that they did themselves. But second, I'll look at the healing meters and I'll say, oh, we are supposed to have 6 healers. Only 3 people actually did any healing on that fight. Well, let's find out who's not healing, and then I'll do a little bit more investigation, and then I'll say, okay, here's the problem. Either you guys need to heal, or we need to kick you and get somebody else in here.
Man, you are the most diplomatic LFR raider I've ever encountered.
It's not diplomacy so much as being used to like raid leading anyway, so that's something I can do in the span of about 10 seconds. Like, I've just gotten used to it. I'm like, oh, okay, look at this guy, or here's the problem. Found it. All right, there we go. So it's just something I'm generally pretty fast at. And also, I just don't care. Like, I just don't. If we're killing bosses, it doesn't bother me. And most of the time, like, the vast majority of the time, if you only have 1 or 2 people in there who are doing this, where they queued up as a healer, but then they decided to DPS anyway, yeah, it's dumb, and yeah, people shouldn't do that because it's rude and to everybody else in the raid and so on and so forth. But if there's only 1 or 2 people doing that, most of the time you'll kill the bosses anyway. because at this point, especially in the expansion, the gear requirements are so low, and people are so used to the fights already because they've run them so many times that you can kill the stuff anyway. So mostly what I would say is, don't. Obviously, if you're having issues, then yeah, investigate that stuff. Find out who's doing that, and if you find somebody who's doing something like this, let everybody know. They'll get kicked out in no time, and you'll move on. But if you're joining into an LFR and the first thing you do is check to see if people are actually healing, then you're just kind of wasting your time then at that point, because you probably will still be fine anyway.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it, even if you find somebody that's been slacking a little bit, I mean, if they're doing nothing, then yeah, see ya. But if they're doing at least something and you're still killing bosses, the amount of time that you would end up saving for the remainder of how much time you're going to be in there would actually probably be less than, like, if you kick somebody, then you got to make up that time, right? So you got to get somebody that's going to come in fast enough to get started, right? And then you have to make up for all the time you lost and get that new person in. So you got to hope this person not only is better, but they're better with enough of a gap that they're making up for all the lost time. So yeah, you're right. Like, just if he's doing something, but he's just kind of bad, then fine, whatever, we're killing bosses. That makes perfect sense.
And I should clarify that that's almost entirely because my whole focus with LFR is to get in there and get out as fast as possible. So if it means, sure, we'll still kill the boss, but we're going to wait around for another healer to get in there, then I'm like, ugh, can we kill it without him? Because I'd rather just pull it and go on.
This episode of PST After Dark brought to you by Netflix. All right, let's move on to another caller. We have so many. We have 7 more people to get through and about 20 minutes to do it. So, caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Hi, I'm Lucas from Germany.
Yo, Lucas, how's it? We can hear you good this time, at least.
Yeah, connection seems to be better or something. I don't know. My question this time is about the sales of games. Dead Space 3 is set up from EA's side to sell something like 5 million copies, so they will just discontinue the franchise. After the debacle with 38 Studios and how Kingdoms of Amalur sell or didn't sell, do you guys think that such high expectations are even in place here, or is it just something that's absolutely over the top?
With which game were you referring to?
Dead Space 3.
Dead Space. I feel like Dead Space and Kingdoms of Amalur are two different sections, because Kingdoms of Amalur was its own brand new IP that got a lot of hype because of 38 and the marketing that they had, whereas Dead Space 3 is on a little bit better footing because it already has Dead Space 1 and 2. So it's already garnered a little bit of following and success because of that. And I think it's going to definitely benefit from it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think a proven franchise from a publisher like EA is going to have a lot better shot at, and obviously I've been pretty vocal about my thoughts on EA, but obviously a proven franchise from a proven publisher like EA, they can afford to say we need to get 5 million, or we can get 5 million sales out of this. Kingdoms of Amalur, from a company that had never put out a game before. In fact, it was a company that was purchased by a company that had never put out a game before. I think Big Huge had done a couple other things before that, but it was labeled as 38 Studios, and it was like this brand new franchise that nobody had ever heard of. I think you're kind of comparing apples to oranges there a little bit. And I mean, really, when you look at it, like something like Minecraft sold like crazy, but that was who knew that was going to sell that much? Or
Minecraft was such a slow burn because it was like, here, play the game for, like, Notch even came out and said, if you can't afford it, pirate it and then pay for it when you can.
Well,
like,
that was after he made like millions of dollars. Come on. That wasn't during this. I'm sorry, but if my slow burn phase is millions deep, I'll take it.
Yeah. No, I think even if you look at other games that maybe don't get as much of a large following as Minecraft has, like I don't know, there's a really good Bleed. There we go. That's one that comes to mind. Here's a game that It's an indie game. It's developed by like a guy. I think it's just one guy that may bleed actually. And it's what, like it's like $3 or $5, something like that. It's not really expensive, but it's something that's going to have relatively low sales numbers. But since it's just one guy, it doesn't really matter. So I think looking across the spectrum like that and saying, should games be expected to sell 5 million copies? I think that's kind of, it depends on the game entirely too much to really comment on too directly.
Yeah, and 38 Studios is, I mean, that's kind of the worst example. Like that is definitely on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. Yeah, we spent $150 million on this game and other things that we're working on. Okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna go bankrupt then. See you. Like it really is a really bad thing to compare to anything else ever made. Ever
in the history of ever. All right, let's move on here. This next question is brought to you guys by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GameBreaker TV. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question. I hear you.
You guys are breaking up on me a little. My name is Randy in Tennessee. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're coming through loud and clear on this end.
Okay. My question was, do you guys think Diablo 3 will ever be able to win people back through patches and expansions? And do you think Path of Exile is doing things better than Diablo 3 did? And for you, my guess, I was wondering if you're reading the Sword Art Online books or not.
I've considered it now that the franchise or the anime itself has come to a close, and they wrapped it up in such a way that makes you kind of interested to go and read all the different light novels about all the different servers that they jump into. But I haven't started yet because I'm far too busy. But I'm really excited to. It's one of the series I think that really jumped out on me, or jumped out at me. Now, in regards to everything else, guys, do you have any thoughts or comments?
I think the absolute most important thing to remember about Diablo 3 is that it was really, really fun until you hit max level and then it sucked. And that, well, at least for the people that like that style of gameplay, it was really, really fun. I was having the time of my life in Diablo 3. I didn't want to do anything but play Diablo 3, so I didn't. And then I hit max level, and then the game sucked because I wasn't able to do anything anymore. It was just all of a sudden you hit that level 50 brick wall, and that was it. Which means that when you look at other games like Path of Exile or Torchlight 2 and so on, you have to remember the problem that Diablo 3 had was not apparent in the first few hours or days or weeks of gameplay. It's something that nobody really knew this was going to be a problem when they first started playing. So that's why I would say, like, comparing it to Path of Exile, I have no idea if they're doing anything better. I have not spent enough time in Path of Exile, and very few people actually have spent enough time in Path of Exile to be able to say that yet at this point.
Either of you gotten a chance to jump into it at all?
Yeah, Path of Exile.
Yeah,
we were.
It's about time we get a question about Path of Exile. Damn, I was like, this ain't no World of Warcraft show or anything else we're talking about. This is a Path of Exile show today.
So Darnell, what do you think of that?
Netflix.com, etc. Shut up, you're ruining my ad.
just go. I can't even see anymore.
/Gamebreaker TV. What were you gonna ask? Path of Exile.
Path of Exile. What do you think of it? Let's spend a minute and talk about it.
Okay, yeah, it's alright.
That was a second. You're gonna pull us out of a whole entire segment to talk about how no one's talking about Path of Exile, and all you have to say is it's alright. Really?
I just want to put my voice. I just want to put my thing out there. Damn. I just want to say it's alright. Yeah, no, it's alright.
It's fun to play. Like I've been enjoying it. I need to actually stream some of it at some point so that people can so I can give like live commentary on it as I'm playing it or something. But it's fun. I have a couple concerns about it, but it's mostly like this is stuff that might not work out at the end
like primary concerns is that dickheads like to spawn a whole bunch of random ass skeletons all over the place so you can't see what the hell's going on. Run around swinging out nothing because you're trying to get something.
Who would ever do that? Who would take every single increased minions talent that they can get their hands on, and then also run with a summon zombie gem and a summon skeleton gem and a summon specter gem? What kind of asshole would actually summon in 9 zombies and 11 skeletons and 2 specters? Who would do that?
Sounds like you know a lot about that there, Mr. Allen.
It's the most amazing thing ever. It's awesome. You summon in all this crap. It does all the work for you, and everyone else in your party goes.
Yes, more companion mobs than the entire instance.
I gotta say,
them. We must fight for our freedom.
I haven't played Path of Exile since last Christmas, but I really liked the way that the gems affected your spells and changed the way that they worked, and I really liked that system. I really should jump into it now that they've got all the these new updates to it, and I should see how it's evolved. But that was the one thing that really stood out for me that I think it was going to make it really unique.
Yeah. As to the other part of the question where he was asking about if Diablo 3 can ever pull people back, I absolutely think they can, but it's going to take an expansion. It's going to take a big event that just tells people you should go check out Diablo 3 again. When they come out with these little content patches and they say like, oh, we just added dueling in Diablo 3, nobody really cares at this point.
Coming this month to Diablo 3 PvP. Nope.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they need to come out with an expansion. They need to do PvP right. They need to come out with an expansion, and with that big event, maybe we'll get an announcement at BlizzCon or something this year, but with a big event like that, that can change the general public's opinion of the game. When they come out and say, okay, we're going to release an expansion that fixes everything that was wrong with the game before. Even if they've fixed other things since then, because they have done a lot of work on the game. It needs that one big push like that to really happen.
All right, let's get through these questions. We still got 5 more, and we are running short on time. So caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question.
Hello. My name's Andrew. I'm from Middlesbrough in England. I was wondering, how do you feel about making players cross over from PvP to PvE or vice versa? Like, such as in the Legendary Quest in WoW needing Battlegrounds and the data mined PvP gem.
It's always a tough subject.
Would it actually be both? Would it be? I mean, would it be both of those things, or would it be or?
No. What ended up happening? What the situation he's talking about here is that part of the legendary quest chain in like the part of the legendary it's after you get the first gem, but it's where you can start to unlock the extra gem slot on the weapon. Part of that quest chain, you have to go win the 2 new battlegrounds. You have to go win Temple of Katmogu and Silver Shard Mines. You have to go win those 2. And this is for a PvE weapon, but you have to go into PvP to actually win these things. And I've talked about this a lot, and coming up in the next patch as well. It looks like just from data mining, which big caveat, giant asterisk right here. It's just from data mining. But there is actually a legendary meta gem that's been data mined, and people are wondering where that's going to come from. I talked about this a lot on PST a while ago, and I'm not going to go into as much detail here because I know we're trying to get through questions here. But to me, it's not ideal. It's not something I would have done if I was designing the quest chain. But it's also 2 battlegrounds. You just need to win each of them once. It really doesn't take long to get even if you have no PvP gear. If you're just specific queuing, I'm going to do Temple of Katmogu until I get a win. I'm going to do Silver Shard Mines until I get a win. Not that big of a deal. Can be frustrating, but that's supposed to be part of the chain, is you're supposed to be doing stuff that you have to work at some point. So it's again, it's not ideal. I wouldn't have done it myself if I was making the chain, but it also doesn't, like, I'm not calling this the worst thing that's ever happened in World of Warcraft. They've done other worse stuff before.
Real quick, because I do want to move on. You're okay with the idea, because people roll on a PvE server because they strictly don't want to do anything with PvP. They want nothing to do with it, but they still want to go for this legendary, and now they feel like they have to do PvP. What about that mentality?
I think people roll on. there's people that don't want to do daily quests. There's people that don't want to farm for food. There's people that don't want to do all sorts of stuff. I think part of the legendary chain is going to include you had to do something you didn't necessarily want to do. You had to do something that you would not have done otherwise. Otherwise, it's just a free legendary. Otherwise, you're just getting it for free without having put any effort in. If it's all stuff that you would have done otherwise, you're just getting it for free. I feel there needs to be steps like that along the chain. And again, I would not necessarily have done this specific case, but I think there does need to be steps where you have to go in and do something that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise wanted to do because you're getting a freaking legendary, right? We were talking earlier about how does the quest chain not feel legendary? Well, a big part of making it feel legendary is having actual work involved.
Yeah, but I don't want to make you go off on a tangent, but PvP is making it feel legendary to do stuff that you don't want to do. I don't think people feel like going into Battlegrounds is legendary. They want to be doing legendary activities to feel like they're working towards something that's big and amazing, I mean, not like go jump into a Battleground.
I would not have done that particular crossover. I think that the way that the game works and has worked for a long time, PvE and PvP have always been very separate, and intermingling them so directly like that, I think it was a bad idea. I think it was a bad call on Blizzard's part to actually do that. But I think a lot of the arguments as to why it's a bad part are also kind of off base, because they say, well, I didn't want to do this, so what?
So yeah, don't make me do it. Work is hard.
Yeah, legendary, yeah.
All right, let's move this show along so we can get through. We got about 4 more calls. Call your line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us where you're. Tell us your question.
Oh, fine. It's Chaos Infinitum. Well, with the recent release of Studio Ghibli's Ni no Kuni, it seems to be a major success, and it's a rich and vivid game. You know, should more animation studios start taking a crack at making video games? And should the reverse be true? Should more game studios start making, movies and anime?
Isn't this just like Dirk the Daring, but updated anime? Isn't that kind of what this is?
No. What
like
this
Dungeons
is
and Dragons and.
I mean, this is level 5. And let's see here, Studio Ghibli.
I don't care who made it.
It's the mixture of a highly respected animation studio and one of the highest recommended Japanese RPG companies coming together to truly make something that's just in my opinion it is a masterpiece. And the best part about it is I haven't even really got to play it that much. I've seen other people play it. That's as much as I have been a part of it, and I am going crazy trying to find this game, and I can't because no GameStop here has it. We talked about how we want Blizzard to make movies. They're really good at it. Why not step into doing animation studios? I would personally love to see more partners like this, because as someone who came into the office today just said to me, he was talking about how he was playing it, and he said his wife walked up behind him and made a comment of, are you watching anime? And he's like, no, this is a game. And then she literally sat down and watched him start playing the game because it was just that good of animation in it, and it felt like she was watching it in anime. And I feel like you can do that because it's cartoon and it's animation. Whereas if you're doing something like that with maybe Mass Effect, you run into a little bit of a risk because you're trying to make it look as realistic as possible. Whereas this is trying to emulate something that's fully immersive when you take it to a video game platform. But I'd love to see more of it. I think Ni no Kuni is for a right reason getting amazing reviews, and I can't wait to start playing it. Do you guys have any thoughts? I know you guys maybe haven't sat down and played it yet, but do you guys have any thoughts on Ni no Kuni at all?
I've learned more about Ni no Kuni over the course of this discussion.
This conversation.
Than I knew before we came. No, it's just I've heard about it. I've heard people saying it's really good. I haven't looked into it myself. I don't own a PS3, so.
I've got to say, I've never been so never been so sold on a video game from its trailer alone. I didn't know anything about this game up until 3 nights ago when I was watching videos on YouTube on my phone, and the trailer kept popping up, and I kept skipping it. But then I kind of got interested because I thought it was maybe an anime, and then I ended up watching it. and found out that it was a game. And I was just so blown away by it from a trailer that I would love to see companies approach making a game like this more often by taking the right approach of saying, hey, look, we want to make a very artistic, stylized anime video game. Let's go get one of the biggest JRPG companies in partnering with one of the most renowned animation studios and make a game together. I mean, that's partially what I feel they did with Kingdom Hearts to an extent. They took, you know, people who Disney, who was telling really great stories, and intermixed it with people who were developing a video game. They brought them together and they made an amazing game. But I don't know. I don't want to spend I don't want to spend too much time on it. We got another caller finally on the line. I was really just trying to kill time while that happened. Nino Kuni, check it out.
Yeah,
caller,
kill time my ass.
Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question.
Zubair from Cypress, California. And by the way, I think there's a Nino Kuni in the GameStop like over here in Cypress.
Cypress. That is like 40 minutes away though?
Something like that.
Cypress. Is it a hill?
Man,
Cypress
everywhere
Hill.
I go, what is
No,
with
it's in
people
Orange
from
County, just
California
like
getting
the
upset
city
about like 10-minute drives? Everywhere I go
That
is
is
a
not a
40-minute
10-minute
drive.
drive. A 40-minute drive isn't like forever, because then it's 40 there and 40
A
back.
40-minute drive is my wife and I going to dinner every week.
You know what?
I kinda wanna
Amazon. I don't even have to leave. Cypress. All right. Well, maybe I'll check it out. I was told that a shipment should be coming in tomorrow, so I'm gonna call GameStop and see if they got it. What's your question?
Yeah, sorry. I want to know what your guys' favorite combat style and MMOs are, and what type you think ESO might have, or SO, and what it's capable of, because they're trying to do the single player with the MMO feel type thing.
So, favorite combat type. You guys want to go?
I didn't actually hear the question very clearly. Sorry.
What was your favorite combat type that you've seen in MMOs, and which do you think that ESO is going to adopt themselves? Now, me personally, even though a lot of people didn't like the game, and I don't want to say that the action combat was perfect, but I felt most I felt most immersed in Terra's combat. And maybe it was because it was such a breakaway from the action bar combat. The same reason I love Dragon Nest. I loved that style of hack and slash mixed in with my MMO. Not enough to really get involved in Terra, but to me, when I was playing it was something that was exciting and fun and new, and I'd love to see that form evolve with a better game.
I think for me, the combat style that I actually really like Firefall's combat style. I know it's not a game that's out yet, but I do really like the way that it plays with the sort of like, you can go third person, you can go first person, and there's not really a major reason to go either. I do like that quite a bit. I'm still waiting for them to make a game with the combat system that they have, but that's beside the point. I do like the combat system quite a bit. It just feels good. It feels visceral. There's MMO elements to it, but it's still like it can function in an MMORPG. And I think with technology being how it is nowadays, it's stuff like that is a lot more possible. I would love, and I've been dreaming about this for ages, since I was like 15, younger even. I have been, like, when I first played Ninja Gaiden, the one that was on the Xbox, the first Ninja Gaiden that came, obviously not the first one, not the old NES version, but the one that came on Xbox, I was like, this style of combat, you know, the same like Devil May Cry, God of War style of combat, in an MMORPG, if someone can meld those two things together, that would be amazing. And people keep coming out with action MMOs that don't do that. They make this slow, like Terra. It's just slow.
Well, I said I wanted to see it evolve. I just liked what they were doing with it.
Yeah, I love the idea. It just needs to be implemented properly. It needs to be done in a way that doesn't feel slower than a hotbar MMO. That was the problem I had with Terra. I'm listening. I feel like there's more action in World of Warcraft than there is in this combat system, because at least I'm pushing buttons and moving around and doing stuff in that game. That was the problem I had with Terra. Is it just felt like push this button, wait for this animation. Even on the faster classes, it was push this button, wait for an animation, push this button, wait for an animation. That was frustrating. I would love to see someone put that sort of visceral Devil May Cry, God of War style, just beat 'em up action into an MMORPG. That is what I am waiting for right now. I really want to see that happen.
Yeah.
All right, let's start out to another caller. Only 2 left. Caller on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question.
Hey, it's Mike from Winnipeg again.
Yow.
Hey, so I've got a question concerning League of Legends and other MOBAs as well. I've played Heroes of Newerth for a very long time, and one of the biggest things that I really enjoy about that interface compared to any other MOBAs is you have an in-game voice chat. So immediately, as soon as you go in, regardless of whoever you're playing with, you can actually coordinate with your team members by using proper voice chat to communicate rather than having to take your hand off of your mouse and go back to the keyboard, type in some kind of command or something like somebody's missing, top lane's missing, prepare for a gank kind of thing. So why doesn't League of Legends have something like that? I know that the general community in MOBAs can be really kind of vitriolic, I guess, and really harsh to deal with, but by having a proper mute button and interface for something like that, like in Heroes of Newerth, as soon as somebody starts saying something that you just don't want to hear them anymore, you can just move the mouse over, click mute, there you go. You don't have to hear from them anymore. So do you know why League of Legends doesn't have something like that incorporated into their game, or why more games even in general have it?
2 things to that is, one, I know a lot of people when making up this argument talk about how Dota is better than League of Legends because Dota has in-game voice chat, which it does. So if you're very into League of Legends, but kind of upset by the fact that it doesn't maybe have in-game voice chat, Dota does actually supply that. And I think that is, you're right. That's a great feature to have attached to your game right from the get-go, to communicate and help. I think on the reverse side of that, though, I'm going to throw this to when I was playing Call of Duty. I played both on PlayStation and Xbox. And personally, I hated the experience on PlayStation because, and justified paying for Xbox Live, because every time I went into a new match of Call of Duty, which granted you're in a lot more Call of Duty matches than you are League of Legends matches, but the fact that I had to jump in and mute every person manually every single time got so frustrating and turned me off from it so much that I don't enjoy playing online games with PlayStation because of it. Now, if they maybe had a feature where you could turn it off, or maybe only communicate with people on your friends list, like I do with Xbox Live, it might be better implemented. But that's kind of where I see it. Why haven't they done it though? I mean, Josh, do you have any idea of why maybe they haven't thought about implementing? I mean, they're doing all these other crazy things, and Riot is definitely on a path for success. Do you think this is on their whiteboard at all?
I think it should be something that they should consider adding at some point, just because if nothing else, it'll make it easier for organized teams. But I think that's where the real value is in voice chat for a game like this. I haven't played a ton of Dota. I played a bunch of it, and when I was playing that, I didn't come across anybody who was being super obnoxious in Dota, like screaming over the voice chat. But that doesn't mean it won't happen, and especially once the game is, because it's still in beta, if I remember correctly. Once it's actually fully released and everybody has free-to-play access to it all the time, and it can start to build up a real player base. I think that sort of thing is sort of bound to happen, and that leads you. Basically, where I'm going with this is I think that the specific issues that you mentioned here, where there's no good way to call missing or whatever, because you have to move over, type on your keyboard, and move back over again. I think those sort of issues are things that should be resolved in other ways. There should be ways to put out like visual cues or something. Like in League of Legends, you have 2 types of pings on the minimap. You can ping to advance, or you can ping to retreat. And just being able to do things like, well, here's an example. When I used to play Heroes of Newerth, and I spent a lot of time playing Heroes of Newerth, they had add-ons. There was actually like UI add-ons that you could get for Heroes of Newerth, and some of them would manipulate the chat. And what you could actually do is there was one add-on that just gave you a little menu that you could just click, MIA top, MIA bottom, MIA mid, And
What about
stuff like that? I think would be because that way it's not a question of holy crap, I like especially if you can then keybind it to something. It's not a question of I need to move away, type, and then move back in the middle of my moving around and trying not to get hit. I can just click on something that calls that.
What about Smite? Smite integrated that with their feature. You hit like V and then you get quick commands that you can quickly, and then it'll shout out missing top. And that's
exactly.
That's one of the best parts I like about it.
I think is but like just the little voice commands that Smite has. Those are also really, really great way to implement stuff like that. I think in-game voice is something that Riot should be looking into, but I also don't know that it's necessarily the best way to fix that, because what's going to happen is somebody will get tired of hearing people crying all the time over their voice chat. They'll just turn their voice chat off. They won't hear you say that they won't hear you calling missing in top lane, and then they will yell at you when they get ganked, and they say you never called it. And that will just lead to the general consensus being don't call MIAs over voice, because people might have it muted and they'll die and get mad at you. So I think having something in-game to just call that out that can't be abused in ways like that would be a better way to go about fixing that particular issue.
And also on the flip side, pretty much majority of the way that they police activities inside of games is via text chat logs. So if you eliminate those by putting people in voice, they can say whatever they want.
That's true. That's true. All right, let's move on to our final question for the night. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
My name's Colin. I'm from Arkansas, and if I cut out, it's because a tornado hit me, so don't freak out.
Fire tornado? Is it a fire tornado?
Damn.
My question was, you guys had an English teacher that came on that was a gamer, and he said that how video game books and that sort of thing are getting kids reading. And I did a little independent research, and there's actually studies being done that say that children's brains are actually different than they were in the 70s and 80s and that sort of thing. And that video games are actually a better way to teach those children than to just try the traditional methods, because their attention span's so short. And so how do you think that'll play a role in video games moving forward? Do you think they'll be used as educational tools and not just entertainment?
Gosh, I wish this wasn't the last question.
Our brains are different, or maybe just the way that kids are being raised nowadays is different because of the way technology has advanced and such. Like you didn't have a choice. You had nothing else to do but read a damn book 40 years ago.
And your brain actually changes over time depending on what kind of stimulation you've had. So their physical brains are different, bigger in, like, say, the frontal cortex than the medulla.
Yeah, but you're saying a baby, though. What I'm saying is it changes based off of how you
put into it,
what you do through life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but like a baby is not going to have a different brain, like fresh out the womb, than one from like the 60s.
We've got these new models of brains nowadays. We've been putting them in.
Baby brain 2.0.
To try and explain it, I'm not a neuroscientist or anything like that, but my understanding of I watched a show on like National Geographic or something about this a while back. It was really interesting. But it has to do with the way you learn things. The way that your brain works in learning is you forming different connections in the brain. Different things connect in different ways. And when your brain gets used to making connections in a certain way, that can then make more connections easier as time goes on using that same method. So that's basically how that comes out is when you're playing a lot of video games, you kind of learn how video games work. So someone who's been playing video games for a long time can just kind of pick up on things that maybe they haven't even seen before in a video game, because it's something they're used to learning that particular method. Whereas people who learned it, this is why older generations tend to have a little bit more trouble picking up on new video games and so on. They just have to spend a little, and this is again a general stereotype. It's not true of everyone, but that's why that tends to be the case. It's just not something that they've spent as much time doing. They don't learn in that process as efficiently. So yeah, it's definitely a thing for sure, I would say. As to the rest, I actually don't remember the rest of the question now. Sorry, I got sidetracked trying to remember how brains worked.
I think and I could be wrong. I think we already let him go, but I think it kind of had to do with how do you think we'll see a shift or when we'll see a shift? And I've said this before, and we're coming into it. We're making changes. We just had a teacher, an English teacher on the line who said that he would last week, which was an amazing discussion. If you guys haven't seen it, go check that video out. He talked about how he would gladly give a World of Warcraft book to for students to read over something. I don't think he used Romeo and Juliet, but something that's old and set in the ways. And I think that partially just comes from we get very much set in our ways. The older generation is set in theirs, and we'll be set in ours when we're older as well. We'll want everything to be the way that we were taught, just the same. And as we grow and move forward, and the decision-making generation shifts to one that has been around and been involved with video games since they were children as well, I strongly feel like we will start to see a shift towards it making an impact on education and seeing it more utilized and more understanding instead of just blindly blaming video games for violent activities. And I think that we'll see development, but we're still, the people making the decisions aren't accustomed to that yet.
They're old. Just say it. They're old.
They're old.
I mean, it's. I mean, it seems kind of simple. It's like, okay, yeah. In the '80s, if you were born in the '80s, sometime you probably grew up reading Dr. Seuss books. Okay, yeah, probably you did. If you're a kid growing up in the 2010s or teens, then you're probably gonna be reading that same Dr. Seuss book off an iPad, and it's probably gonna be interactive, and you're gonna touch a screen, and the Go Dog Go car is gonna move and everything. So the way that, what I'm saying is, the basis for how we learn and how we function, how we perceive things from the 80s is different than it is now, right? So kids now are gonna build off of touch screens and all that stuff, whereas we grew up with paper and cassette tapes, and that was our technology, right? That's how we learn, how we absorb things.
What do you think about?
It's all about where you start, and that's what I'm saying. So yeah, kids today, they're gonna grow up with touch screens and everything. They're gonna be Minority Report in 30 years.
What about the idea? And I don't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole because I don't much believe it myself. But what about the idea of that's killing the creativity? You know, people being like, well, we didn't get to just sit in front of our computers when we were kids. We had to go outside and make friends and use our imaginations. Do you think that as we grow forward, that is going to become a problem?
No, I think what's going to happen is when all these kids that grew up on technologies and sitting at home on the couch playing with iPads and everything, they're going to grow up and get positions of power. And they're going to look at people that play sports like, oh, these guys are barbaric. They're animals out there. Look at them. Damn, didn't grow up with an iPad. That kind of happens now if you think about it.
It's true. Before video games, they did point towards
it's just
towards
flip
football.
sides, that's all.
Darnell, you can follow
football.
You can follow him right there at Darnell Sup. Hey, Darnell, can you throw me a football real quick?
Your mom throws me footballs.
Damn.
Mr. Allen, you can follow him right down there at Devolore, DEVOLORE. Catch him over on techspot.com where he hosts PST, Weekly Marmots, just the tip, a whole bunch of other awesome gaming related content. I ask you this every week, but what do you got for just the tip this time? Any awesome game this week?
Tomorrow I have. Today I had a total ripoff of Rogue Squadron, which, okay. Tomorrow I have
forget that TIE Fighter.
Yeah,
TIE Fighter was so much better.
Tomorrow I have a platformer based off of the origins of jazz music.
Wow, talk about educational. And you can follow me right here at Mike Schaffnitz. Catch me right here on After Dark every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. PDT. And guys, I say it every week, but this show cannot happen without your calls. So please tune in live. Shoot us your questions over on Skype by adding us at or adding us on Skype with the username GB After Dark. And for those of you guys wondering, we also accept Twitter questions by using the GB After Dark hashtag. So just tweet those out. But if you want to get your question answered and guarantee it, I'm telling you guys right now, you got to call in because I got a whole bunch of Twitter questions that we didn't get to. If you guys want to come on, you got to watch live. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week.